Welcome to Mexico City and the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, where today it's hosting the second round of the Formula E World Championship, where the DS Penske team is hoping to build on a promising start to the season with its E10's FE25 Challenger. This is a car that delivers 350 kilowatt four-wheel drive, 174 mile an hour top speed, 0 to 62 in 1.8 seconds, and arguably one of the best liveries on the Formula E grid. But as exciting as it is, what exactly does it have to do with a DS road car? Now obviously this looks nothing like the DS number 8 that I recently did a European road trip in, and unlike a touring car or even a GT3 car, the crossovers to the road-going models are not that obvious from the outside. However, there are some technical similarities and crossovers, but to find out what they are, I need to step away from Mexico and head somewhere a little bit closer to home. Note to self, Paris in January is a little bit colder than Mexico in January. Anyway, welcome to the Stellantis Motorsport headquarters. This is the nerve center for the DS Penske Formula E team. It's where they develop the powertrains, prep the cars, and I've heard they've even got a very nice simulator in there. So let's take a look and see what it's like. Honestly, this place is a treasure trove of motorsport heritage from both DS Performance and the wider Stellantis group. For the Formula E operation, there's design rooms, several specialist dyno rigs for gathering data on the electric motors and other components, plus further areas for developing and stress testing specialist parts such as the totally unique transmission assembly. But to understand how all of this relates to DS automobiles as a road car producer, I spoke to the Formula E director for Stellantis Motorsport, Leo Thomas. So in my head, so much of Formula E and the competitiveness around it is in the efficiency and how the cars use their energy. So surely that has a link to the DS road cars as well. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So the aim is not to transfer exactly the same parts and to industrialize the racing parts. That's obviously not the goal. But to understand what we are doing and to transfer the philosophy, to transfer the software, the approach on how to use the energy, how to regenerate, how to use the four-wheel drive is surely what we are doing, yes.
Okay. And in a race scenario, if we just take it back to the beginning, how does saving energy help you? Because it sounds a bit contradictory because you're racing, right? But it does help you in a race, in a Formula E race, right?
Yeah, exactly. So for the Formula E race, if we were going full throttle always, we will do probably 60% of the race. So the full target is to do the 100% of the race and still to be faster than the other one. Means only losing maybe a second compared to a full push, or 2 seconds compared to a full push, and to use this energy in the most efficient way. So means to regenerate as much as possible. So up to 40 or 50% of the energy we are using during a race is coming from this regeneration. So the regeneration is really a key parameter of Formula E, yes.
And I've heard that in a Formula E car, you can actually touch the brake discs on the car, which are there mainly for an emergency. But you can touch the brake discs after the race and they're cold.
Exactly. Because during a race, we are trying to not use at all the physical brake and to only brake with the motor power, because that's where the efficiency is coming from. If you are using the mechanical brake, then you are wasting energy. It's not going back into the battery.
And obviously, electric road cars like the DS number 8 are using disc brakes.
Yeah.
That's the commonality. Do you think we are getting towards the point where they're not going to have to use disc brakes unless you are really in a heavy braking scenario?
It's already happening. So like with the one pedal, you are using the motors. You are not using the physical brakes. So that's exactly the same philosophy which is applied to the road cars.
And why do you think that hasn't become the norm? Do you think it's just an idea of changing people's mindset and looking at it differently, or is there a technical barrier behind it?
So it's a bit of a both, and as well because the technical barrier, you need to be able to use only the electric motor to brake while not using the brake. Means you need to have kind of a brake-by-wire or a kind of a similar system. So that have to evolve, and it's now happening. But yes, it was a bit of technical barrier, and as well to the people to say, okay, I'm actually wasting a lot in the brakes. Why are not using the motor to regenerate into the battery?
And do you think because Formula E cars have, for example, tyres that are more similar to road-going cars, they're not super dependent on aero, do you think that helps bridge the gap between road and racing in a way that, for example, maybe Formula One can't, because there are so many differences, slick tyres, aero, that sort of thing?
And yes, and as well compared to Formula One, or at least to the previous regulation, in Formula E we are using technologies which are very similar to the road car, and some of them will arrive in the road cars within few years. And it's kind of a really track to road that you can apply, that you could not really do it with other categories, because we are using the same kind of inverter, same kind of motor, same kind of strategy of regeneration or power. So that there is a real learning from Formula E that you can apply to the road cars.
And in your view, as we come to the end of the Gen 3 Evo generation of the Formula E cars, and we move into Gen 4, what's the next big step that you feel that the racing cars can take that will then be pushed on to the road cars?
So in terms of road cars, probably, but not for Gen 4, probably longer term, will be the battery technology. At the minute, it's common for everybody, and it's a wish for the manufacturer and from the FIA and from the organizer to not have massive increase in terms of costs. So the battery is common for everybody. Probably in the future we could open it, but that will not be for Gen 4. So Gen 4 is kind of ultimate performance in terms of acceleration, in terms of power. It will be actually really fast, probably as fast as the F2 in Monaco, for example. And yeah, that's the kind of lap time we are targeting. And with a lot of technology as well, like electronic diff at the front and at the rear. But in terms of technology, will be kind of similar to Gen 3, similar approach, just much faster, much more evolved.
Okay. And in terms of a testing bed for all of this technology, whether it be battery or regeneration or motors, I'm guessing that Formula E is the perfect environment because you're putting the cars under so much stress and strain that the information that you're getting is presumably way more than you would from regular road car tests.
Yeah, exactly. And as well, when you are gaining a bit of efficiency in Formula E, you are going faster for a race. But translated to a road car, it means you are getting more mileage on the motorway, for example. So that's mileage on addition, where in Formula E it's just lap time. But that's the kind of translation which can be done directly.
Cool. I mean, it seems to me like, although, as I said earlier in the video, the similarities in terms of looks between this and a Formula E car is about as similar between this and a Formula One car. But what's underneath, it feels like it is just more applicable because of the nature of battery electric powertrain, and there is always going to be more of a crossover and therefore more learnings that you can take.
Yes. Yeah, and to give you an order of magnitude, 10 years ago when we started Formula E, the efficiency overall of the powertrain, it was probably the same level that what you can find on this car, for example. 10 years after, we did evolve a lot, and now we are much more efficient. And we believe that some of this will be transitioned to the road car within few years as well.
The flow of tech from the DS Penske Formula E team to the real-world road cars is hugely encouraging and helps demonstrate why manufacturers continue to pour resources into worldwide motorsport series such as Formula E. And having seen the cars both in action in Mexico and then being developed and designed in France, it felt fitting that I finally got to experience the DS E10's FE25 from behind the wheel. Sort of. Welcome to the top secret remote race room. It's used on race weekends to support the team with live data, but it also houses one of the simulators that DS Penske uses to develop and dial in its racing cars before, after and even during championship rounds. This is where the engineers and drivers gain crucial info before heading out on track for real, gathering data first from the sim driver, then the reserve driver, and finally Taylor and Max. This information is invaluable given how little time the drivers and teams get to trial setups on race weekend. Each driver can often cover an entire championship's worth of track time in just a few days on the sim, hence why it needs to be as lifelike as possible.
So we're filming this just a few days before the Miami E-Prix, so the team is in full practice mode, gathering as much data as they possibly can before the race, although I'm not sure they're going to be getting much useful information from what I'm doing. But even so, I can really appreciate that this is a very, very fun bit of kit, but also seriously useful. And you can tell how hard I am concentrating because I really don't want to spin on camera. But I've got a Simuq wheelbase, I've got the pedal box from the actual car, so it should feel super realistic. And I'm also sitting in the carbon tub from an old Gen 2 car, because apparently the driving position isn't that much different to the new vehicle. This track has got lots of really tight corners, technical sections, where you've got to be super patient on the power, getting the power down, mainly through the rear wheels, when they're in just the rear wheel drive mode. But there's also some really long straights as well, so you do get up quite a lot of speed in places. God, this is fun, but...
My fastest lap was, apparently, just under a second off what Taylor and Max would be doing, which, I'll be honest, I was pretty pleased with. But when it comes to the advances in technology that Formula E has delivered to your DS road car, the results are far more defined. Whether it's using or conserving power, the learnings have been indispensable. But there's so much more to be discovered. So watch this space.